Let's face it, guys, you're stuck in life because of perfectionism. Does any of this sound familiar to you? You dream of creating something awesome, you start a project, and you create something. But then you compare yourself to others who are already great at what you're trying to do, and you realize that what you created is actually shit. And as a result, you feel hopeless and you give up. Now, this is a very common pattern amongst perfectionists, and many perfectionists are stuck doing so called busy work. This includes watching how to videos on YouTube, creating your brand, creating a thumbnail, creating a logo, thinking about what name you should have for a brand, and the list goes on. You do all this busy work, but you never take the step to do something tangible. Because, let's face it, whatever you produce is never good enough. And as a result, you're stuck in the loop of telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow, I'll start one day, and you hope that time fixes things, that you'll stumble across the solution just by waiting around. And you wait a week, a month, a year, a decade, until one day you inevitably wake up and realize it was too late. Now, you probably want to avoid that destiny. So, in this video, I'm going to teach you a simple antidote to perfectionism that disarms perfectionism using clever psychology. And in fact, I use this method making this video as well. But before I can do that, we have to understand the three psychological reasons why you're stuck because of perfectionism. Now, first of all, perfectionism turns action into a threat. Producing something reveals your imperfections, and for whatever reason you learned throughout your childhood that being imperfect is not safe. So as a result, you avoid action completely. But here's something you might not realize right now. Not taking action at all is a guaranteed way to fail. And when you take action, you're actually giving yourself a chance of success. Secondly, perfectionism feels busy work. You're busy planning and learning, but the harsh truth is that you cannot learn without action. And it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. But every hour you spend outside of action is not counting towards that 10,000 hours. It's simply keeping you from starting that journey. Thirdly, perfectionism traps you in a all or nothing loop. And you might have experienced this before. For example, you start a new hobby, such as going to the gym, and you miss a day, and you think to yourself, there's no point to keep going. I already failed. So as a result, you skip the next day, the day after that, and suddenly you have stopped going to the gym completely. But the reality is that missing one day is not going to make or break your progress. However, when you're struggling with perfectionism, it feels like that. It makes every small mistake feel like the end of the world, and there's immense guilt associated with making mistakes. Mistakes that are very insignificant in the grand scale. So, now that you understand the psychology a bit better, we can talk about the clever method I learned to counter my own perfectionism. And this method is so simple that it might even sound ridiculous, but hear me out. When you create something, set yourself a time limit in which you must finish whatever you're creating. And set that time limit to be just a bit too tight. And after that time limit ends, you have to publish whatever you created, no matter if it's perfect or not. And it's needless to say that you cannot improve it after the time limit has ended. Now, for example, I gave myself 3 hours to write, film, and edit this video. Now, the reason why this method is so genius comes down to the psychological factors that we just talked about. And there's 5 key reasons why it's so effective. First of all, when you give yourself a tight time limit, you don't have time to be perfect. There's no time for any busy work or perfecting what you're creating. Whatever you create in that time limit is almost guaranteed to be imperfect. And you either work efficiently in creating something or you won't have the time to finish what you're creating. Secondly, this trick gives you psychological permission to be imperfect. Because the time limit is so short that you don't have time to create anything perfect, that just goes out the window and it gives you the permission to be imperfect and make mistakes. And as a result of that, you allow yourself to be productive and make mistakes. Thirdly, it allows you to attach your progress to the time you have spent on learning rather than what you create. As I said before, it takes approximately 10,000 hours to become a master at something. So this method makes it so easy to track the time that you have spent towards the 10,000 hours. You can even do something that I did, which is gamifying your progress. I created a simple spreadsheet to attach levels to the time that I have spent as if it was XP in a video game. And if you want a copy of this spreadsheet, it's available free down in the description. And finally, this method skyrockets your rate of learning because it forces you to improve your efficiency from the get go. And why this is so powerful is that what any skill, any learning boils down to is how efficiently you can create something in a unit of time. And giving yourself a time limit forces you to improve your efficiency. Now, if you keep using this method in the long run, you will definitely see your skill level improving. And the fifth reason is that you will see your improvement and your skill increasing much more easily reflected in the outcome that you create. Since you have a constrained time, how good what you create is a direct reflection of your skill level. This is different if you have endless time to perfect what you create, because you might spend hundreds of hours or something doing it very inefficiently. So there you have it. Make sure to use this method to overcome your perfectionism and just pick something that you have always dreamt about doing. For example, creating a YouTube video, writing a song, or whatever it is, and set yourself a time limit, like 3 hours or 6 hours or something like that, and just see what happens. And you will see that this will hack your perfectionist brain to actually take action. If you found this video useful, make sure to subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you in the next video.